The story begins in the heart of the Roman Empire, where the thunderous roar of the crowd echoes through massive amphitheaters, anticipating spectacles of unmatched brutality. Here, young boys, often slaves, prisoners of war, or children sold by impoverished families, are taken from their homes and thrust into a world governed by fear, discipline, and survival. These early recruits, known as tyro, enter the Ludi, Gladiator schools that function as both training grounds and prisons. Within the walls of these institutions, they are stripped of their childhood, forced to learn that strength, obedience, and resilience are the only currencies that matter. The Lanisti, the trainers and managers, oversee this transformation with a mixture of ruthlessness and strategic calculation, molding fragile boys into weapons capable of captivating and terrifying audiences. Life inside the Ludus is a relentless rhythm of work and indoctrination. The young recruits rise before dawn, their mornings filled with exhausting physical drills designed to build endurance, agility, and raw power. Each movement is scrutinized. Any sign of weakness can result in harsh punishment, often administered publicly to enforce obedience and instill fear. The trainees are not merely taught to fight, they are conditioned to embrace violence as a way of life, their identities reshaped into archetypes of courage and ferocity. Daily routines are interspersed with lessons on the Roman ideals of honor, loyalty, and spectacle, ensuring that every action in the arena serves a larger political and cultural narrative. Despite the cruelty, camaraderie forms among the trainees. Bonds forged through shared suffering provide a fragile sense of belonging, a psychological lifeline in an environment where death is a constant threat. Rivalries, too, emerge quickly, sharpened by competition for favor, status, and survival. These early dynamics mirror the battles to come, teaching the boys lessons in trust, betrayal, and the delicate balance between aggression and caution. Each young gladiator begins to understand that failure is not only a personal misstep but also a potential death sentence, while success could offer fleeting moments of recognition or even a path to freedom. The physical spaces of the Ludus themselves tell stories of both oppression and discipline. Stone walls echo with the clanging of wooden swords and the grunts of exertion, while cages and barracks hold the young fighters like animals awaiting their moment in the wild. Historical records describe the variety of training tools used, from wooden swords and shields to weighted equipment, each designed to prepare trainees for the spectacle of the arena. The rigorous schedule ensures that even the weakest can be honed into competent fighters, and those who show exceptional skill quickly rise in the eyes of the Lanisti. The environment is one of calculated intensity, a microcosm of Roman society itself, where survival depends on mastery of the body, the mind, and one's instincts. By the end of this formative period, the young gladiators are no longer mere boys. They have been forged into instruments of spectacle, entertainment, and terror. Their lives are a constant negotiation between fear and ambition, obedience and rebellion. This is the world into which they are cast, a world where every step, every swing of a weapon, and every act of endurance shapes not only their own fate but also the spectacle that enthralls Rome. It is here, in these schools of blood and discipline, that the journey from innocence to legend begins, setting the stage for the brutal trials, rivalries, and triumphs that await them in the arena. The life of a young gladiator is defined by relentless physical and mental trials, where each day tests the limits of endurance, pain, and willpower. From sunrise, recruits are thrust into a regimen that combines brutal conditioning with exacting instruction in weaponry. They run for miles on uneven terrain, carry heavy weights, and practice precise movements that, if executed incorrectly, could invite harsh punishment. Strength, agility, and stamina are only the starting points. The Lanisti demand that the boys internalize discipline and learn to anticipate both the movements of an opponent and the reaction of the crowd. Every drill is layered with meaning, preparing them for the calculated violence of the arena and instilling a mindset that regards fear and pain as tools to be mastered, not avoided. Punishments are frequent and severe, ranging from lashings to confinement or deprivation, creating an environment where obedience is not optional. Historical accounts reveal that failure in a single exercise could mark a trainee for public humiliation or physical retribution, reinforcing the brutal hierarchy within the Ludus. Yet even in this oppressive system, lessons are taught with precision. Trainees learn weapon combinations, defensive postures, and tactical thinking, often practicing in pairs to simulate the unpredictability of real combat. These mock duels are not mere games. They are rehearsals for life-and-death encounters where hesitation or error can mean permanent defeat. Emotional stakes run high, as the young gladiators must navigate fear while cultivating the confidence to strike decisively. Amidst the cruelty, moments of camaraderie and rivalry define the social structure of the school. Shared suffering breeds loyalty between some, while others are driven by envy or ambition to rise above their peers. The Lanisti observe these dynamics closely, knowing that psychological resilience is as vital as physical strength. Friendships forged in sweat and blood can provide a shield against despair, but betrayal can be just as common, reflecting the harsh realities of a society that prizes survival over sentiment. These social interactions teach early lessons in trust, strategy, and deception, foreshadowing the mental games gladiators will encounter in the arena before vast, jeering crowds. Weapons training is at the heart of the regimen. Trainees master swords, daggers, tridents, and nets depending on their assigned combat style, learning both offensive maneuvers and defensive counterattacks. Historical records describe specialized exercises designed to strengthen reflexes, accuracy, and endurance, with attention to realistic battlefield tactics. The Lanisti ensure that every movement is drilled into muscle memory, so that instinct, rather than conscious thought, guides reactions under pressure. This mechanical precision is crucial. A single misstep in the arena could end a career or a life. Each successful repetition builds confidence, but failure looms constantly, a reminder that the journey to becoming a gladiator is as much psychological as it is physical. By the end of this period, the young gladiators are transformed. The punishing schedule, rigorous training, and constant pressure forge bodies capable of extraordinary feats and minds attuned to danger. They begin to embody the ideals of Roman spectacle: strength, skill, and the courage to face death. Yet beneath this polished exterior lies the ever-present tension between fear and determination, hope and despair. Every swing of the sword, every sprint, and every bruise is a step toward survival, a step toward the first taste of glory, and a step deeper into a world where only the strongest, most disciplined, and most cunning will endure. The foundations of the gladiator's life, grit, resilience, and adaptability, are cemented in this crucible of discipline, setting the stage for the rivalries, battles, and triumphs that will follow. As young gladiators advance in their training, the focus shifts from basic endurance and obedience to the art of combat itself. Each trainee is assigned a fighting style, carefully chosen by the Lanisti based on physique, temperament, and skill, whether as a retiarius wielding a trident and net, a mirmillo with a sword and heavy shield, or a secutor built for aggressive close combat. Mastery of these specialized roles requires not only physical precision but also tactical intelligence. Trainees are taught how to anticipate the movements of opponents, exploit weaknesses, and react instinctively under pressure. These lessons are layered with historical significance, reflecting the meticulous planning behind Rome's gladiatorial spectacles, where every duel was choreographed to maximize drama and engage the audience. Mock battles become the central testing ground for these skills. Pairs of trainees face each other repeatedly, each encounter blending instruction, competition, and psychological trial. While the fights are controlled, the stakes are very real. Mistakes result in punishment, embarrassment, or demotion within the school, while triumph brings recognition and a glimpse of power over one's peers. Rivalries flourish in these moments, sharpened by jealousy and ambition, and alliances form between those who can depend on each other to survive the harsh hierarchy. The intensity of these exercises mirrors the pressures they will encounter in the arena, teaching the young gladiators that success depends as much on mental acuity and strategy as on raw strength. The Lanisti also emphasize adaptability and improvisation. Trainees practice against multiple opponents, learn to recover from disadvantageous positions, and experiment with unconventional tactics. Historical sources describe exercises simulating surprise attacks, ambushes, and crowd interference, all designed to prepare the boys for the unpredictable chaos of real combat. This preparation nurtures a heightened awareness of surroundings and an instinctual readiness that can make the difference between life and death in the arena. Emotional tension is ever present, as trainees must manage fear, aggression, and determination simultaneously, learning to convert panic into focus and hesitation into decisive action. Physical training is supplemented by lessons in psychology and showmanship. Young gladiators learn to project confidence, control their expressions, and manipulate the crowd's perception of dominance and vulnerability. Historical records indicate that crowd reaction could influence both the outcome of a fight and the fate of a gladiator's career. The ability to captivate an audience while maintaining lethal effectiveness adds another layer of complexity to their development, creating a constant push and pull between authenticity and performance. Each duel becomes both a test of skill and a rehearsal for the spectacle, preparing trainees for the theater of blood that awaits beyond the gates of the Ludus. By the end of this stage, the young gladiators are no longer just students, they are emerging warriors. Their bodies are finely tuned instruments, and their minds are trained to think strategically in the midst of danger. Rivalries have sharpened instincts, lessons in adaptability have built resilience, and repeated trials have instilled a sense of calculated confidence. Yet even as they gain competence, the specter of failure looms, reminding them that every move is a step toward survival or ruin. These formative experiences establish the foundation for their first public battles, where the lessons of the Ludus will be tested in the unforgiving gaze of the Roman crowd. The moment every young gladiator has been preparing for finally arrives, the first public battle. Stepping into the arena, the roar of the crowd washes over them, a tidal wave of expectation, fear, and adrenaline. The amphitheater itself is a spectacle. Sunlight glints off polished weapons, dust rises with each step, and the sheer size of the audience amplifies the weight of every decision. For the trainees, the fight is no longer a rehearsal. Every swing of a sword, every thrust of a spear, and every defensive maneuver is now real, observed by thousands who eagerly anticipate triumph or disaster. The stakes are life itself, and the emotional intensity is overwhelming. In these first bouts, the contrast between hope and despair is stark. Some display astonishing skill, moving with a fluidity honed over months of relentless practice, earning the approval of trainers and the awe of spectators. Others falter, unprepared for the chaos of an unrestrained opponent or the pressure of the crowd. The Lanisti watch closely, evaluating not only physical ability but mental composure, resilience, and capacity for strategy under stress. Each encounter becomes a crucible, testing whether the young gladiators can transform fear into focus, hesitation into decisive action. Historical records note that these early contests often determined a gladiator's reputation, survival prospects, and potential for advancement within the Ludus. Beyond the technical aspects, these first battles carry immense psychological weight. Trainees must navigate the thrill of victory and the sting of humiliation, often within the same performance. Rivalries sharpen in front of thousands, alliances are tested, and the harsh hierarchy of the school is reinforced by visible success or failure. Injuries are common, and even minor wounds serve as reminders of mortality, shaping the young fighter's relationship with pain and risk. Every movement in the arena reflects months of discipline, hours of punishment, and years of anticipation, all converging in moments of life and death consequence. The crowd plays a pivotal role, their reactions a constant influence on the fighters. Cheers fuel courage, while jeers magnify fear. Trainers and fellow gladiators observe, silently assessing who has the potential to endure, who will crumble, and who might rise to legendary status. The spectacle itself is a lesson in psychological warfare, teaching the young gladiators that control over an audience can be as crucial as mastery of arms. Through these trials, they begin to understand that the arena is not only a physical battlefield but also a stage of perception, drama, and calculated performance. By the end of their first public engagement, the young gladiators are forever changed. The adrenaline, terror, and triumph leave indelible marks, shaping their identities and forging resilience that will be required for every fight to come. These initial battles are the true test of everything learned in the Ludus, turning trainees into combatants capable of surviving and thriving under the scrutiny of Rome. The lessons of fear, strategy, and performance merge into a foundation upon which legends are built, and the stage is set for the escalating challenges, rivalries, and moments of glory that lie ahead. After their first public battles, the young gladiators return to the Ludus forever changed, carrying both pride and the lingering sting of failure. Some are celebrated for skill and bravery, their names whispered with admiration, while others face humiliation or injury that threatens their standing and survival. Historical accounts reveal that life after the arena is filled with complex social dynamics. Respect, envy, and fear intermingle as trainees navigate the hierarchy established by their performance. The intensity of these relationships shapes their mental resilience, teaching that survival depends not only on physical prowess but also on strategic alliances and calculated interactions with peers and trainers. Recovery and continued training dominate their days. Wounds are tended, stamina is rebuilt, and techniques are refined, often under the critical eyes of the Lanisti. The brutal lessons of the arena feed back into the training regimen. A strike that landed poorly, a hesitation that nearly proved fatal, or a defensive maneuver executed with hesitation becomes a new drill to master. Each setback reinforces the reality that the line between triumph and disaster is razor-thin. Emotional stakes remain high as the young gladiators grapple with fear, pride, and the constant reminder that the audience's gaze extends beyond the arena, influencing both career and reputation. Mentorship and rivalry grow more pronounced. Senior trainees may take promising fighters under their wing, offering guidance while subtly reinforcing loyalty to the Lanisti. Simultaneously, jealous peers may attempt to sabotage or outshine one another, creating an environment where psychological awareness is as crucial as combat skill. Historical records suggest that these social tensions serve to prepare gladiators for the unpredictable alliances and betrayals they might face in later fights. The balance between cooperation and competition becomes a defining factor in who rises and who falters, adding layers of strategy and emotional complexity to their daily lives. Economic realities and the politics of the arena also begin to shape their experiences. Skilled gladiators could attract the attention of patrons or sponsors, gaining privileges, better equipment, or even opportunities for early freedom. Conversely, a poor performance could limit prospects, leaving a trainee vulnerable to exploitation or dismissal. The emotional rollercoaster of navigating ambition, expectation, and survival in such a high-stakes environment adds further depth to their journey, illustrating the real costs of life as a gladiator beyond the immediate thrill of combat. By the end of this stage, the young gladiators have evolved into seasoned fighters, tempered by both triumph and adversity. Their bodies and minds are sharper, their instincts honed, and their understanding of the Ludus's social and political dynamics deeper. Yet the tension between mortality and glory, fear and ambition, remains ever-present, propelling them forward into the relentless challenges of the arena. Every victory, every setback, and every lesson learned reinforces the unforgiving nature of their world, setting the stage for the ultimate tests that will define their legacy in the blood-stained sands of Roman amphitheaters. As the young gladiators progress, the true measure of their journey becomes clear. Survival is only the beginning, and legacy is the ultimate prize. Those who endure the brutal training, the rivalries, and the first public battles gradually carve out a place in Roman society, earning recognition, respect, and sometimes even freedom. Historical accounts highlight that a few exceptional fighters achieved fame that extended beyond the arena, becoming symbols of skill, courage, and spectacle. Yet, for most, the cost is steep: the loss of childhood, permanent injuries, and the psychological toll of a life spent under constant threat. Every swing of a sword, every strategy executed, and every audience reaction contributes to a story far larger than the individual gladiator. The legacy of these fighters is intertwined with the culture that elevated them. Gladiators were both entertainers and instruments of political power, their victories and defeats reflecting not only personal skill but the whims of patrons, the preferences of the crowd, and the politics of the empire. Emotional resonance comes from understanding this duality. The young warriors' lives were not their own, yet through their courage and resilience, they could achieve immortality in the annals of history. Audiences of the time, much like viewers today, were captivated by the drama, the spectacle, and the human stories behind every match. Despite the fame or survival, the personal cost of becoming a gladiator remains a haunting theme. The loss of innocence, the constant confrontation with mortality, and the need to suppress fear and humanity create a complex psychological legacy. Yet it is precisely these trials that shape them into legends, forging courage, discipline, and adaptability that few could match. For those who survived, the lessons of the Ludus extended beyond combat. They embodied resilience, strategy, and an understanding of human nature that transcended the arena. In the final reflection, the story of the young gladiators stands as a testament to the extremes of human endurance and ambition. Their journey from terrified recruits to seasoned warriors illustrates both the brutality and the brilliance of Roman spectacle, and it offers enduring lessons on sacrifice, courage, and the shaping of character under pressure. As the echoes of the arena fade, what remains is not just the memory of blood and battle but the legacy of those who transformed fear into mastery, leaving an indelible mark on history and inspiring awe, respect, and fascination for generations to come.